ask yet again for condemnation. But it is important for each and every one of us, everybody in society, whatever their station may be, that we are intolerant to such atrocities. That there should be unconditional the condemnation that we make. And we should send this very strong message to each and every one of to everyone. This message is so important that whoever does such an act, thinks of such an act, the authorities will catch them, will prosecute them, will punish them. That is the message that needs to go out. It is said earlier that today I was in this very now, and the Prime Minister came, and Jeremy Corbyn came, and other politicians were there. It is so important, and that was a good step to take. But it is important that that message, that strong message, needs to go out from them as well. I think the message that needs to go out from the police is also very, very important. And this incident needs to be seen as every other atrocity that we have witnessed recently. And the way it is viewed, the way it is investigated, followed up, there shouldn't be an iota of difference in this at all, and that should be done, and that message is also very important. I think also media, I have been getting lots of messages today that the BBC was dragging its heels reporting this incident. The language that was being used, the tone that was being used, the coverage that was being given wasn't adequate. I think that needs to be remedied. It is important that in the community, brothers and sisters, we need to be calm. And I said that it's important for us. I know people will feel the anger, people will feel the frustration, but we should follow the legal course of this action that is required, and we need to be calm, and we need to express those frustrations and that anger in the right way, in the right channel, with the right people, so they can take the right action about this, so that we don't have to face these things in the future. So we say to the community, please be very, very vigilant. In this month of Ramadan especially, we have been in touch with the local authorities and areas here, our MPs here, our commanders here. We have been in touch, we've been meeting today with them, and they'll come forward with their support, and we want to see that they're taken into action, so that the citizens of London are safe on our streets, inshallah. The government needs to find the resources. You always hear there isn't enough resources for policing and so on and so forth. The government needs to find the resources, send a very strong message, and take the right steps so that these things are not eradicated. Thank you very much again to all being coming today. We really appreciate you coming here. Thank you very much. Thank you. We don't have much time. We will be asking some of our community leaders to say a few words, just in 1 minute messages. We have here Sheila McGregor from Stand Up for Racism. Let's ask you to say a few words. Just 1 minute.
My message is very simple. This is not an accident. This is not an accident. When you have a government which goes on and on about Muslims and refugees and asylum seekers, and goes on and on about terrorism, and at the same time creates the conditions which produce Grenfell Tower, under those circumstances, some people go to the kind of extremist action we've seen at the EDL. And what we actually have to do is we have to do actually like the people from Grenfell Tower have to be doing. We have to campaign, we have to organise together. Black and white, men and women, we have to stand together, and we actually have to say that Theresa May has got to go. We've got to do something about the conditions which drive people to this. We've got to do something about what is happening with hospitals and education and everything like that. So the bitterness which exists does not get turned against Muslims, but actually we fight together for a better future.
Thank you, Sheila. I'd like to request Neil to come to the front, please. Neil Jameson, Activity Director of Citizens UK. Now I'd like to our power commander is here, Commander Sue Williams. We've been working very closely with her since she joined the town just about a year ago, and she's been very cooperative, very helpful, so we'd like to appreciate what the police is doing Last night, even before we asked the police were here before budget time, their band making sure that they are giving the reassurance to the community. So now let me speak to Sir William, Commander Sir William.
Thank you. So I'm here just to show solidarity with the community. This is another atrocity for London, which is one too many. But I want to make it very clear that the police called this an act of terrorism very early on, and it is being investigated by our counter-terrorism officers. So there will be a proper investigation. Standard liaison officers have already been communicating with the families to make sure that they're fully informed. And locally, across London, bus commanders like myself have been engaging with their community. We have sent officers to every single hospital in the borough to speak to them to make sure that everybody is happy with the arrangement. We have a faith officer that has been to visit most of the mosques. I have given additional patrols, particularly I'm keen to make sure those patrols go on into the early hours till 1 o'clock, because I know that's when Fairfield finishes. So there will be additional patrols out there, plus we've got extra cars on with officers that will respond to any incidents. And we're very fortunate that our armed response officers are based on Surrey as well. So any serious incident, we will have an armed response unit moving in very short time, if not a couple of minutes. So I just want to say my job is to keep people safe, and that's what I'm trying to do. And we had a tension monitoring meeting this morning where a number of actions came out of that, and we're all committed to different actions in order to make sure that the community feels appreciable and feel safe and can go about their normal business. So I just want to say once again that I'm here as a part of the community and the partnership, and we will do all we can, certainly to keep people safe.
Thank you, sir. The police will also be organizing training for our mosque volunteers, how to improve our security in our mosque. And it will be done in a couple of days' time. We're inviting all the mosques to come and take part in this training. Now I'd like to introduce Neil Johnson, who's been working with us for more than 20 years now in corporate along and working for the common cause. Neil is the business director of the UK.
Thank you. Last evening, as you heard, many of us were gathered here celebrating the richness of diversity and the power that diversity has in this wonderful borough and city. It's just terrible this morning to wake up and hear the atrocity. Although my heart is in Tower Hamlets, we have members in North London Citizens as well. So the Muslim Welfare House is a member of Citizens, North London Citizens. I was there today for much of the day with other brothers from here and sisters, as well as the Finsbury Park Mosque as well, of course. So it is terrible this has happened. It should not happen, and we cannot give up promoting peace, however, brothers and sisters. We have to just carry on and do it even better. I'm delighted here that the North London Citizens members have already offered to provide patrols or witnesses from amongst their own membership, and many of which are synagogues, who will go each night until the end of Ramadan and including Eid, to be around to offer dates and water at the end of the breaking of the fast, with t-shirts on proudly saying, "On London, stand together." Thank you.
Now I'd like to request our executive manager of this to say a few words. John has been very helpful and very proactive since last night, even very early in the morning we've been in touch, and the head meeting today was organized at the council, and the council is doing whatever is in their capacity to make sure that we are all safe. John.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for inviting me to join you in this vigil today. I want to be very clear at the beginning that some of the media have difficulty using words that they should use, and this was a terrorist attack. It was an attack designed to intimidate, to strike terror, to strike division into our community. And I'm pleased that our borough commander is here and is pledging the support of the local police to defend our community. As Dilwar has said, the best policing is when we police ourselves through our good behaviour and through our solidarity and through demonstrating the influence and violence will not win in our community. It's very important we repeat those messages to ourselves, particularly to our young people. Many of our young people will be angry when they see this happen. We need to show people that you win battles with this, not with this. We win with our minds, we win with our thoughts, we win with our deeds, we win with our love for each other as a community. Now, I've been around here a long time. I came here before the LNC was built, but well, Islam Mosque is a very old institution in the centre of London, and it's part of our community. So the second thing I want to say is that we are a single community in East London, and the attack on Muslim community in East London is an attack on all of us, it's an attack on me. And I'm very clear that the attack on Muslims in North London, that the man who died was a Bangladeshi man. He was 55 years old, I believe, 58 years old, and he had a future, he had a family, he had hopes, he had dreams. He was part of our great British adventure, our community in London, and we must pass our sympathy and thoughts to his family, but we must be determined that we can fight the ignorance that lies behind this. Next thing I want to say is that as a council, together with the police, together with our mosques, together with our other faith communities, we're going to express that solidarity, which will make sure that we are never defeated by this ignorance. There are a number of practical things we can do about safety, about vigilance, about security measures, and we'll think about doing this as well. I'm here today, by the way, with my lead member, Ashley Bagan, Councillor Ashley Bagan, who's been there for youth and safety. Bill Wilson is the deputy there, just behind us now. Abdul is just behind Zero, so like a sort of kind of dominate here. We have solidarity across the council, and we're not all from one tribe. We're all, however, citizens of this borough, fight together to achieve justice for all of our residents. So finally, I would say one very simple thing, which I must say I find it sad. I've been to several of these vigils now, and it seems that they're coming in 1 to 2 days, and here's another today. None of these things are done in my name. They're not in my name. They're not in your name. They're not in our name. We are united as a family, as a community, and strong. We must make sure these events do not divide us. We must make sure that there is proper justice. We must name it what it is. This is a terrorist attack against all of our community, and we must be united and be strong, stand together. Through that we can achieve justice. And I don't agree necessarily that Theresa May should go to power. I think she'll disappear of her own contradiction. But what I do agree is that there are many people in our city who worry that their leaders do not care for them. As a leader, I hope you think that I might care for you in this borough. This is my life. I'm devoted to serving the people of our borough. We need a community which watches out for each other, in which our leaders are held to account, and in which we support each other and get things done together to achieve peace and calm. Thank you.
Ramadan, none of you are people back home. We have 2 more speakers, our MP, Mr. Ali. She was with us last night as well in this diversity event, and she has been also in touch with us since early morning, seeing how she can support the community. So for the start, actually, our Imam of the prayer will say a few words and we'll conclude with the prayer. Okay, so let's start.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to start off by extending my deepest condolences to the victims of this appalling, horrific terror attack in Finsbury Park and to their families. We stand in solidarity with them as Muslims, as people of other faiths, those of no faith, as Londoners, as British people. This act of terror was a deliberate attempt to attack Muslims. Muslims during terror attacks, like all citizens, fear for their lives. They face a double threat of reprisals and hate crime increasing, and it has done consistently over the years. Last year after Brexit, and then subsequently after the terror attacks. So we need the support of all citizens to protect minorities, in this case British Muslims, but also other communities who face hate. This is our struggle as a country. And what I would say to the government is they need to step up to the plate. We have been warning them year in, year out about the threat of far-right extremism, which is just as serious as religious extremism. We have been deeply concerned about the marches and the intimidation that British Muslims face around the country and other minorities face. My commitment to you is that we will continue to pressure the government to take firm action against far-right groups that even today are threatening to march in our city. No way, enough is enough. That's what Theresa needs to be saying to the far-right as well as other religious extremists. She is right to do that to religious extremists who try to exploit our great faith. But she needs to do the same with far-right extremists. And I want to finish off by saying that we, my colleague Jim Fitzpatrick and I and all parliamentarians in my party will be fighting for more resources for our exemplary police force, our emergency services, who have had to cancel leave when these incidents have taken place. They get no rest. They are having to do 18-hour shifts. That is intolerable. The government needs to give them more support. They are stretched. This is not okay. They need to sort this problem out. We need to resource our emergency services and our police services. And when ministers say they have funds to protect our religious institutions, our faith-based institutions, they need to look at this again, because what's been provided is not good enough. You have to, at the moment, prove that you have faced hate crime as a religious institution before you qualify for funding. And my appeal to the government will be they need to look at this again, because that doesn't deal with preventative action. This mosque didn't get support when they put in a bid, and they have had many attempts by preachers of hate to cause trouble here. So if they don't, I don't understand how this fund works. And I would like to see the Home Secretary explain herself and improve that fund. It's welcome, but it needs to be available to all those institutions that desperately need the help. And I want to thank all of our communities who have come together and who have offered help. And I'm grateful to the offer from LMC and working with other institutions in this community to provide community support training so that we can provide security working closely with the police. Thank you so much. This is our great strength, being able to come together as a city, as the different communities that make the city so great. And here in the East End, we've seen off extremists of all kinds, and we will do it again. And we stand in solidarity with our friends in Finsbury Park. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
And finally, I'd like to say to Imam, say a few words and then conclude the vigil today with a prayer. Thank you for our community leaders and coming together here at our mosque. We appreciate our Imam of this Motor House for your helping the young people who come against attackers. We tend to help them in a way that they should work in a way that is not in future problem. We should handle it with wisdom, with it more clever. We should continue with positivity. So that is our message. Which is reading again and again. We are here to peacefully living here. We don't create any problem for this country. We are here to contribute positively.
Yeah!
How this problem happened, who are they? We don't know them yet. So don't blame us for them.
Yes! Yes!
They are not part of us.
Yes!
We want to know who are behind them. Who behind them? We are here peacefully. We're here to be the peace. We have to be the peace of the whole country. So I request again, as many of the speakers say, anything happens, and I request all Barakamanda, time to time, a couple of days ago, a couple of times, the ADL came here. You have the people. Please, I know young people, we want to give them passion, lesson of passion. They should not do anything to increase the problem. But young people sometimes do bring their passion. Please watch out and please help them that nothing is happening here, that they are not coming here. If they are all the time, they are not allowed to come here. How they come here, we need to find out that. In the end, let's make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pray to Allah, those the victims, especially the ones who died. May Allah place in them the firdaus. May Allah give quick recovery to those who are suffering in hospital in the month of Ramadan. The peaceful people just came to pray to Allah, to their God, and then attack in a horrible way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give quick recovery to everybody. May Allah give patience, sympathy to those who lost their beloved ones. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give quick recovery to the people of the tower, Himself tower, those who are still struggling in the hospital. May Allah give the quick recovery. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you very much. Thank you for this. Thank you for coming and such a short notice.
We are talking with Rushnara Ali, the MP of Bethel Green and Bow. Rushnara, what do you think about this attack, that terrorist attack that happened? Do you think that this is going to happen more?
Well, I think it's utterly abhorrent. This was a targeted attack, this time specifically towards British Muslims, and we need to be vigilant. We all need to work together and make sure that our institutions are safe. And that's why we will be calling on the government to make an urgent statement as soon as Parliament resumes. And we want to hear from the government what they're going to do to increase security in religious institutions, but also community organisations that feel particularly vulnerable. Yesterday it was a mosque, it was a religious Muslim institution, and Muslims were being targeted. There are many other groups that also feel extremely vulnerable. We need to increase support to the police and emergency services, and I want to see the government take firm action against far-right groups. I have been asking for this for years. We have called on them to ban marches, and I'm hearing that there may be plans for ones in the future. The government needs to look at this again. They need to ban marches organised by far-right groups that are insistent in causing hate, and especially against British Muslims. They've got form, it needs to stop. We also need to hold political leaders like the likes of Nigel Farage to account, who has been particularly singling out British Muslims. That needs to stop.
We should be pointing out the websites and they're promoting, the hatred promoting sites, and the videos, those are online, and we should be pointing them to the Home Office, the police, Met Police. And what role do you think as an MP you can play?
Well, we have, my party and I have called for years on the government to do more to tackle extremism in all its forms. Both religious groups, those who try to use religion to justify extremism, we ask them to regulate the online activity that goes on, especially when 3 girls in my constituency were radicalized by internet organizations, online grooming that happened that led them to go to Syria. I asked the then Prime Minister to take action and require the social media companies to take this stuff down. At the moment, the police that are overstretched are having to do this work. These internet companies, with the greatest brains on the planet, they have a lot of resources. They can do this. They can take this stuff down. This hate-filled propaganda by religious extremists as well as far-right extremists. That needs to stop, and we need internet companies to step up. We've been calling on this for years. The government finally is paying attention. We will see what happens when we arrive in Parliament, and we will push them to take action instead of just talking about it.
What should be the action from the people and from yourselves if the government fails to address this in the next 3 months or 6 months?
Well, look, I think that it's right that the public protests peacefully. that they raise their objections to this government, and I appeal to everyone to work together in a peaceful manner to raise these concerns and work with us to raise these concerns. We've been fighting it out for years to try and get results. Unfortunately, this government is hell-bent on making cuts to our police services and our security services and not giving them the backing they need to protect us. And that needs public pressure. People need to write to the Prime Minister and government ministers, as well as their members of Parliament, to highlight that we need more support for our police services. They need to write to Boris Johnson, who cut the budgets of fire services, including one fire station in my constituency. We fought hard to hold on to the second one that he was going to close down. Our fire service men had to risk their lives to put down the fire in Grenfell Tower. The police service are working ridiculous hours. It's inhumane, the kind of hours they're having to do, and that's because this government has made a political choice to cut resources to our police service and our security services. The neighbourhood police officers, the community support officers that did incredible amounts of work that we, when we were in government, had put resources into. Many of those jobs have gone. 20,000 police cuts, a reduction from 5,000 to 1,800 community support officers in London. These things have an impact. It means that communities don't get the safeguards and the security and the vigilance that is provided by community police officers. They are the eyes and ears of our community. So now we are having to think about how to create the capacity through volunteering in the community to do safeguarding, to do protection of our community, working with the police, because our police are so stretched. We need to work together to support them, but the government needs to get a grip and sort these problems out. It is their making.
Thank you. Well, now, John, can you please explain to us how do you see Theresa May's government is helping you in your Tower Hamlets Borough Council? There are a lot of cuts we are hearing, and we are seeing a lot of cuts from the very, very long time. So how are you managing that, and how do you think this should be resolved?
Well, we've been making massive savings on our budget for some time now. It's been very challenging, and you cannot pretend you can do that without affecting the services people receive. And what Rishanara has said in particular about our safety is so important. The government must stop and must listen to the voices of people in the community, whether they're in Grenfell Tower or whether they're in Finsbury Park Mosque or whether they're in the East End. People need to be protected. The most important thing the government can do is to make sure that people are safe, and they are failing on that. So I'm pretty clear. Theresa May needs to listen. She needs to understand that if people are going to have confidence, I mean, you know, she may be Tory, we may be Labour, whatever. If people have confidence that they have a government that listens to them, then it must react when there's something going on. Something's going on. People are feeling insecure. They need to be protected. We need to reverse those police cuts, and we need to protect people in our community.
Tell me, to start with, you mentioned this attack is a terror attack. And
yep.
In the very beginning, BBC and Daily Mail, they failed to term this attack to be a terror attack. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think we live in a world in which, if we're not careful, we stereotype people, and so instantly you see an attack which is called allegedly in the name of Islam, and you say they're Islamic terrorists. If it's done by far right white extremists, then you hesitate. You say, well, maybe they're just angry white people. They're terrorists. It's a terrorist attack by this far-right organisation. Their whole purpose is to divide and cause aggression, to cause violence within our community. They are no less intolerant than people from other spectrums who fight with terrorist messages. You know, so we need to be very clear about that. Absolutely intolerant of these messages of hatred. I mean, the basic lesson is that if you're going to live together in a community like this, then you need to respect each other. You need to learn ways of sorting out your disagreements through the ballot box, through debate, through argument. It can be passionate. You know, I'm about to go to a meeting where people are going to talk with real passion about housing. They're going to say, "You're my mayor. What are you doing to keep me safe in my home?" And I'm elected to do that. I'm not elected to forever come to vigils when people have committed more acts of violence. We need to make those things a part of our past.
Quickly, Grenfell tragedy, public inquiry or public inquest?
There needs to be a public inquiry which has...
Why not public inquest?
Well, it's a distinction about words. There needs to be a proper right of people to give evidence, for it to look in all corners.
People who are the family of the victims, they have a right to ask questions to the authorities who has failed, right?
Okay.
So that will only be possible through a public inquest, not through a public inquiry.
I think one of the good things about British politics is that we can make up the rules as we go along. So if there needs to be a right for the public in Kensington and their families to speak up at an inquiry, then they should have that right. I don't care whether it's called an inquest or inquiry.
Thank you. Rushan, a public inquiry or inquest for
Well, I would echo what John has said. The most important thing is to get to the bottom of what happened quickly and lessons are learned. But also that if criminal activity has taken place, which clearly we are very concerned that a great deal, there has been negligence in this case, and the local authority and the housing provider needs to be held to account. So without preempting the outcome of an inquiry, we need answers and we need to know what happened.
Thank you very much. So I'll let other people ask questions now. Thank you.
Meeting this morning, so I could sit round with faith leaders, partners, different community members and talk about what response we should be giving to the communities of London in particular around protecting some of our mosques. So some of the things I've done is make sure that that every mosque has had a visit by a police officer today. We have
Sorry. Sue Williams, and she is the Police Bara Commander. We are going to interview Sue Williams, the Police Bara Commander, and she's now giving interview to the press. So.
And I know we're stretched.
We've got last three, 4 nights of Ramadan left.
Yes.
Especially the 27th night, which is very significant for the Muslim community.
Yeah.
What message can you give to the Muslim community of East London, particularly in Tower Hamlets, that there will be the streets of Tower Hamlets will be particularly going into the late turns at 1 o'clock will be safe?
Yeah. So we have what we call an operation that I put on extra officers, even more officers, to cover the Eid period. Now, we don't know if it's going to be the Sunday or Monday, but we have plans for both days, and we know it goes on to late in the morning. What I want to make sure is that young people who get a little bit exuberant when Eid happens is please be very careful about driving around. We've had lots of people, we had people knocked over last year and seriously hurt. So please be very careful if you hire a car, that you take care when you're driving. And look after, make sure that you respect the law as well, because we've got a lot of people on the streets here. There are cyclists, there are people milling around, even from the Muslim community, and we want people to feel safe. So there's something that you guys can do to make sure that you're safe. But also, as I said, we will have some additional officers out. If there is any hate crime, so that means if there's anybody makes a remark to somebody from your community, we call it Islamophobic comment, please let us know. It's really important. People are saying that hate crime has gone up, but officially we're not really seeing it very much because I don't think people are reporting it. If they report it to me, then I can take some action. I can make sure the victims are protected, I can make sure we apprehend suspects and bring them to justice, and more importantly, where these things are happening, I can put some patrols out there to ensure that people don't suffer from hate crime.
Sue, what are you going to do about increasing the confidence of the people on Met? Because people are not definitely reporting the hate crimes even though they're experiencing it on the street.
Well, this is really interesting because we're not seeing those reports. So people they can either report through 101 999 if it's urgent. They can go online through our digital policing, but they must report it. We're not seeing the reports coming through, and that is a problem for us.
Could it be because they're not? There are a lot of people who are not speaking English, and they're not speaking English spoken, and that's why they're feeling hesitant to contact police, so that they probably can't explain themselves.
And that may well be that English is not their first language. So what we'd say is if you've got a son, a daughter or a relative that does speak English, tell them what's happened. Get them they can do it on the phone and they can put the report by using the app met.police.uk and they can report it to us or they can ring 101. So if an individual can't speak good enough English to report it, there are other people out there. The kids can speak really good English and they'll report it on your behalf. But it's important to us to know what's going on out there.
Right. Now, very, very quickly about the Grenfell tragedy. How is the investigation going to unfold? I mean, what are the different steps now police is going to take? If you can just give us a snapshot of what's going to happen next from a police perspective.
Okay, so this will be a major investigation. So this will be conducted from New Scotland Yard. There are experienced detectives that will be handling this. Any fire investigation is really, really difficult. So I've been involved in fire investigations as a detective years ago. It may be difficult to identify the victims because of what's happened and the ferociousness of the fire that's claimed so many lives. So there'll be, first of all, there'll be the identification, body recovery, identification, but we have family liaison officers with every family. So everyone that's reported someone missing will have a family liaison officer who will tell them what's happening with the investigation. They will keep them updated on current events so that when we start to establish how the fire started and when they look into some of the more building issues that I know have been in the press, that information will be passed to the family and they'll be kept in touch with it. These investigations aren't quick though, so you can expect an investigation like this could take several months before anyone knows what the cause is. And the police work to the coroner, so we have to prepare a report to the coroner. The coroner's inquest has been opened, the police will prepare a report, and they will work with the coroner to establish what the cause of death are, because there's so many people that where the fire tragically claimed their lives.
The cause of death are going to be very, very much on the plain side. We know what has happened. They all of them died out of fire. Now, what actually caused the fire, and that investigation is going to be a forensic investigation of the building and the vicinity of it. So how is police going to address that? And the negligence linked with the kind of material that was put up, which we have seen many people are complaining about. So what are your views on that? How those will be addressed?
So this is a difficult one for me. I'm not part of the investigation. I don't know how it was caused. I probably know as much as most people here from what I read in the news. I'm not privileged to know how the investigation's unfolding, so I can't really answer all those questions. I'm sorry.
Very quickly, what's the difference between a public inquiry and public inquest?
So an inquest will be like a coroner's inquest. So it will be up to the coroner to establish the facts of how someone died. A public inquiry will look into all the facts that might have been raised at the inquest. It will probably take place after the inquest when the coroner makes her verdict. And, once the coroner's made her verdict and may make recommendations, that's when the public inquiry will take place.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Now we are going to speak with London Muslim Alliance members. There are quite a few of them, and we are going to speak with Abdullah, we are going to speak with Zakir Khan, we are going to speak with Fakhrul and Abjal Mia. They all represent London Muslim Alliance. So I'll start with Zakir Khan. Zakir, so what do you think about the vigil today? How did it go?
I think, the attendance was really good for such a short notice, and I think the message was very powerful. The message is important that we as a community, we're going to stand together against any kind of terrorism, whether it's religious or non-religious or white supremacist, And this is what all the messages that were given by the politicians, by the police and community leaders was one, which was, we're together on this, we're going to challenge this, we're going to fight for this, and we're going to be together in making sure that our community is safe. That's the first thing, that safety and security is important for us. And our heart goes out to all the people that were injured last night and the individuals that passed away. We as London Muslim Alliance have come together to challenge this kind of atrocities, to challenge this kind of terror attacks, and we'll do whatever we can within our reach, within our power, to actually, to help our community, to help the authorities to put a stop to this.
Right. Abdul, the rally, peace rally, was a major success. So how are you going to build on this?
It's not about success after success, it's about raising the awareness. So today what we're doing from London Muslim Alliance is talking with our stakeholders. So I've been in a meeting with, Fakhrul's been in a meeting in the morning with the local police, is making sure we have 50 mosques in Tower Hamlet. Not every mosque is resourced, not every mosque has evacuation plan. Making sure everybody's aware of what to do, what to look out for. If there is an emergency, call the 999. If on the way to the masjid you are being verbally abused or you feel threatened by someone, make a report of that. What we need to do is to encourage people to be vigilant, to be proactive, and to look out for each other in the community. So one of the things that we can do from London Muslim Alliance through our network is to inform people, to share our knowledge with people, and to make people become more vigilant so that we protect ourselves. I mean, as we've heard from Rushnara, from Jim, and all the other politicians, the Metropolitan Police are short in numbers. They're working, we've been to Greenfield yesterday, we've seen them work in 18, almost 19-hour shift. These are also human beings. There's only so many of them, 8-9 million people in London. What we need to do as London community is to look out for ourselves, look out for our community, look out for our neighbourhood. So that's my clear message. And whatever London Muslim Alliance can do to raise the awareness, educate people about community safety, I think we're in the right track of making awareness, making our city safe.
Right. Abdul, one thing Abdul said, and also I was interviewing Sue Williams, she raised that even though we know there is a growing feeling that there is a lot of hate crime increased, it has increased over last few months or years, they're not seeing the numbers that they're being reported. So what can be done to make sure that people are reporting the hate crimes?
No, that is right. This is why it's important for us as community activists to actually kind of like get the media and get the message out to people as well. And I think through London Muslim Alliance, we want to make sure, and we want to also look at ways of monitoring, reporting. I know a lot of people don't actually report, for some reason they just kind of like allow it. I spoke to one female, she was harassed on the tube, and I kind of try to encourage her you must report it. The people just feel that, to go away and report it is a lot of extra headache. I think one of the things we would do when working with other partner organizations, making sure that people are collecting data, are able to collect those data, and we can provide the confidence and also support people to come and give that reporting. Some people might have language barriers, so therefore they may not feel comfortable in actually reporting that. So one of the things we need to do very quickly is kind of monitor the level of hate crime that's increasing. The council's got a monitoring system there, it's got a telephone hotline. We will do our best to kind of promote those. In some of our future literatures we'll be getting those through, and wherever we go as community leaders and activists, as politicians, we've got to raise people, please report. If they call you a packet, if they call you something foul, if it's an Islamophobic kind of like comments and that, you've got to report this. Once you report that, it becomes stats. Once it becomes stats, then the local police or the national police can look at those stats and kind of look at ways of actually putting their resources and deploying the right police officer to deal with that. And I've got to say, yesterday morning I was there at Finsbury Park. We were very worried that the narrative of this culprit would have been just kind of left, and it would have not been labelled as a terrorist attack. And I think from all the pressure from social media and all the community leaders and activists saying that, look, this was a terrorist attack, the Metropolitan Police has actually acknowledged this, our Prime Minister has actually acknowledged this, and everyone now, even London Mayor Sadiq Khan has said, and the mainstream media afterwards, after about 2 hours, because they were a bit very hesitant in the beginning, and I remember when I was speaking to some of them, they were very hesitant to kind of like label it as a terrorist attack. It was very obvious, it's not rocket science, and I'm very, very happy and glad that we know that there's an equal treatment and balanced approach, because this is what our youth wanted to see. The youth are looking at, every time they complain to us as community leaders, like, oh, you're leaders, every time, like, when it's happening, you're going and doing all these peace rallies, but when it happens to Muslims, you're not doing anything, and this message is a really powerful message, that when these issues are treated equally, I think that kind of took away some of the anger from the people as well. And I think now we've got to look forward how we can kind of protect our communities, protect the mosque, and that's some fantastic initiatives in order to safeguarding some of the mosques now. We just need to look at ways of implementing, and we need resource, we need money. End of the day, without the money, there's a lot of actions that we can't undertake, So let's all stay united, let's all stay safe, and we can all help each other to be protected as well.
Great. Fakrul, very quickly, tell us, could London Muslim Alliance be a conduit working for people who perhaps feel hesitant to make a complaint of harassment or hate crime because of language barrier? What could London Muslim Alliance do in such a situation?
So if I just quickly, as well as being a member of the London Muslim Alliance, I also chair something called the Tower Hamlets Safer Neighbourhood Board. So I'm the chair of the Tower Hamlets Safer Neighbourhood Board, and one of my job with the rest of the board is to hold the police to account. And the way we do that is we get statistics that says how many crimes are committed in different categories. And one of the things that we always look at is hate crime. And the hate crime, despite knowing anecdotally that hate crime is quite high, especially after incidents, right? On paper, the crime is quite low. So it's really, really important, because with increased reporting, you get increased resources. So I can't say to the borough commander, what are you doing about this? Why are you doing, or what are you going to do to, stop hate crime and stuff like that, if the statistics are so low. So that's why it's really important for people to report it.
So
now,
neighborhood watch. I mean, what can neighborhood watch do in such a situation?
So, well, no. I think the first thing is
they got to be reported, right?
Yeah.
They got to be reported, right? They're not being reported. That's where the problem is. So, what can you do?
I think in terms of reporting, okay, there are lots of third-party reporting sites. So you don't have to just phone the police. Okay. For example, we're in front of East London Masjid. Okay, you can come and report hate crime at East London Masjid because they're one of the official third-party reporting sites. There are lots of community groups and community organizations that are also third-party reporting sites. So if you can't go and report hate crime to the police because of language barriers or whatever it is, okay, you can report hate crime to all these third-party reporting sites. So I think one of the things from London Muslim Alliance that we need to do, all right, is promote more of those third-party reporting sites, because until and unless those figures around hate crime, okay, however insignificant it is, whether online, whether on the streets, whether it's verbal, physical, they all need to be reported, because with that reporting, we can then put the pressure on the police, on the government, on the local council to say, all right, hate crime is going up, what are you going to do about it? So I think that's really important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, we have seen today that everyone is united about what should be done. Police funding has to be increased. The terrorist incident which happened last evening, initially it wasn't termed as a terrorist event, but then it was the media pressure which made it come across as a terrorist incident. So we have heard MP Rushnara Ali, Tower Hamlets Mayor John Biggs, London Muslim Alliance, Sue Williams, the Borough Police Commander, and we have spoken to London Muslim Alliance members, and I think we will have to keep an eye on this space, and in future, whenever anything like this happens, we will have to cover it and make appropriate pressure so that people are conscious about far right-wing as well as Islamic or religious terrorist websites, contents which are flying around and which are motivating people. And that doesn't leave out the lot of hatred we see on the mainstream as well against the religious people and the religious sections. Thank you.